All right. Hello. Is anybody here kind of tired of all the AI hype by now? So I'm very sorry. The door is there. You're going to hate this talk because I'm just getting started. um, so I work at a company called Abundly, which happens to be an AI startup. I don't know if it counts as a startup after 2 years, but we build AI agents. We built an AI agent platform. Agents are like digital colleagues that do the work you don't want to do. And we're in this building just a couple of floors up, except for a couple of colleagues that followed me down here. Um, and as part of our journey, we've of course been building software, and we've been using AI as much as possible. In the beginning, ChatGPT, copy paste, and then Cursor, more integrated, and then as we got more and more into AI kind of assisted coding, we noticed that coding is getting faster and faster and faster. And at some point, we're like, coding is no longer the bottleneck. Really, it's a very weird feeling. I've been coding on and off for like 30 years, and suddenly coding was this thing that once you know what you want to have, done within minutes or within hours. Something that would normally take weeks or months, and that's like, whoa, this changes things. The bottleneck moved, right? Oh, the bottleneck is somewhere else now. We're like, what do we do? Oh, well, we have an agent platform, so why don't we dog food it ourselves? So we started building agents for things like backlog management and release management, and we built one agent called Grace, which is really interesting experiment, an agent that is like a colleague. If you look in our Slack, you won't notice that user Grace is actually an agent because it sounds like a human, and very much kind of collaborating at a high level, building stuff. And then things started happening that were really interesting because Grace is on Slack. Grace has the whole context. By the way, this agent is named from Grace Hopper, a very interesting character who, by the way, invented things like COBOL and popularized the term debugging. Look up Grace Hopper. She's awesome. Anyway, the agent is modeled after her. And now suddenly colleagues, non-technical people, like our CEO or other people would just talk to Grace on Slack and say, hey, we need to fix this in our platform. And then boom, done. Or Grace would push back and say, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. Or here's another way of doing it. And it felt very much like a colleague. But it started changing the nature of product development when suddenly everyone is an engineer. Really interesting. Of course, the real engineers, which is in our case a team of 5 people, including me, at the end of the day, we would, merge the PR, approve it, and do the review. So there was a human in the loop step. But it's so interesting that all this work started happening that was not really done by us. Anyway, stuff started happening. Agents started talking to other agents. We have an agent called Mrs. Metrics that looks at production logs and finds something weird, like, hey, there's something weird here happening. And then that agent talks to Grace and says, hey, there's something weird happening in the logs here. And Grace is like, oh, let me check the code. All right, there's a weird edge case here. Let me fix that. And then boom, there's a PR. We didn't do anything. It's just sitting there, a PR ready to go. It feels like a weird science fiction world. So I want to talk a little bit about that weird science fiction world. Um, the feeling I had, and it's been growing over the years, is that this is crazy. It's like a level of productivity I never could have imagined. The number in my head has been kind of like 10x or more, but I haven't had anything to kind of quantify it with. So I did a little experiment. I used Grace as an assistant to figure out, just do some number crunching. Look at the last month of work with this team. And what came up was, I'm not going to bore you with a slide of that picture, but it's right here. Some productivity data, which was like, whoa, 5-person team, 1 month of work, 20 releases, 60 new features, like proper new features in the platform, 52 improvements, 49 bug fixes, 306 merged PRs. What? And 83 of them were done by Grace. In other words, mostly triggered by non-engineers. 183,000 lines of code created or removed or changed during these 30 days. It's like, wow. And then I also did a bit of a survey with my colleagues. How much of that code was written by you versus written by AI? I wasn't sure what to expect. Turned out that about 0.5%, a little less than 1%, was written by us. So 99% was written by AI. This is a team of professional engineers. We never decided to do it like this. It just ended up that way. And I was really surprised. When did this happen? Oh. And I've been seeing more and more reports of this from other companies, even large organizations, where it's like somewhere we went from AI assisted code to AI can write a lot of code, needs some oversight, to suddenly AI writing every damn line of code. Really surprising. And I also checked, how much do we review this code? In our case, it was about 30% of the AI code was reviewed carefully, line by line. And we would, of course, write follow-up prompts, but we wouldn't touch the code. We just write prompts. 45% was skimmed at a high level, like, looks okay, right? I don't see any weirdness at a high level. And 24% not reviewed at all, which was also a bit of a surprise. And of course, this is changing over time. For every month that passes, less and less code needs to be reviewed by us. I just thought it was interesting. And I thought a bit about that. Okay, what is going on? The world is changing. Um, and I looked into like, okay, what about kind of quality? What are the implications on quality? My feeling was that the quality is pretty good, but I did some numbers, ran some tools, and concluded that yeah, the quality is actually above average for a code base of this size, based on almost every metric I could find. So it's not AI slop code; it's good code. All right. What about customer? Well, our experience is shipping this fast, spending so little time writing code means our engineers have time to care about the customer at a whole another level, which is really inspiring. So it's just all the engineers are in direct contact with customers. It's like Agile on steroids in a way, right? We now have time for this. And that means that the stuff we build is very much in tune with customer needs and also shipped very fast. So all this, the net effect is that customers are overjoyed and very, very surprised. Like, how the heck can you guys move so fast? And I honestly feel kind of surprised myself. So I've thought about this. Okay, what about how it feels like in a team? There's a lot of worries from engineers that when AI writes all the code, I'm going to be a glorified project manager or something. But this team is probably the happiest bunch I've ever worked with. We're sitting there joking around, having fun, because what are we doing instead of coding? We have all this time for architecture, for quality, for security, for problem solving, for like design, having discussions over a whiteboard. And it's just like all the fun stuff is still there. So to my surprise, since I like coding, I realized that, oh, yeah, I guess writing lines of code wasn't the fun part in the first place. Then closest comparison I can think of is making art. Right now we can make paintings instead of putting one pixel at a time, which we like writing code, right? Putting one pixel at a time. We have a paintbrush, and we can do filters, and we can spray stuff. We can make these wonderful paintings faster, but we're still in control of the painting. Silly metaphor, I don't know, but I thought it was useful. Um, so yeah, what does it mean for our skills as a developer? Yes, we are worse. Speaking for myself, I'm probably worse at writing code now than 3 years ago. Probably a lot worse. But I'm a lot better at UX, at architecture, at design, because that's what I do all the time instead of figuring out how to format this one method, or what to call this variable. So an important part of it though is engineers still in control. We feel like we are engineers. We are there owning the product, owning the architecture, but we get to choose which code to care about, which code not to care about. And I think that's an important part of it. If people are forced into it, then it's not as fun. But as engineers, if you still feel like we own quality, we own this product, we can choose when and how to use AI, then it just becomes really fun. So this picture is basically captures my feeling over these years, as like I realized the first 30 years of my career when coding has been this. And then started using AI assisted coding, became that. And then with agents, boom, now we're up there flying, going, oh my God, I cannot believe it. It's a bit shaky, it's a bit turbulent. Sometimes there's going to be a bit of a crash because you got to figure out how to handle this speed. But it's thrilling and it's really fun. So what do you do with this extra capacity then? When you can deliver, in this case, I did some numbers, I did some comparisons. What would be the industry benchmark kind of expected time needed to do this, what I just explained? Normally about 10 to 12 months. So by pretty much any measure, this is about 10 times faster than normal development. So what do you do with that? Do you deliver 10 times more features? No, maybe not. Maybe it's better to deliver 5 times more features or something, and use a lot of that capacity for architecture, for design, for improving what you already have, for communicating with customers, or maybe just work less. We haven't managed that. We're working all the time because it's kind of fun, but I'm hoping maybe we can get to a point where we're like, hey, if we're this much faster, maybe we can chill a little bit, right? Work a little bit less and still deliver useful value. But okay, so some challenges. As when something in a system changes so quickly, the whole system becomes disrupted. And that's where, I don't know, how many of you guys are like leaders or coaches or that kind of ish role? Quite a few, right? How many of you are engineers, spend most of your time coding, building stuff, right? So these roles change quite a lot. And you need to kind of reinvent yourself. As an engineer, you need to go back and become a beginner, because agentic engineering is different. You still need to understand architecture, design, all this stuff, but the way you do the work is like very different, and you got to learn that. And as a leader and as a coach, you got to help people, make this journey, because being here is not sustainable when as more and more people move up to there, and it's hard, but also familiar. You've done it before. When Agile came, Scrum, extreme programming, these things were weird and new, and they help teams move a lot faster. They help people build better products. They help customers get happier. However, changing people and organizations and leaders is hard. But fortunately, you're all equipped with that, right? This is what we've been doing all along, helping teams understand the art of the possible, helping to deal with resistance, helping to work to build motivation. So in a sense, it's not quite new, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, quite often, during these kind of conferences, there's always the topic of like, oh, is Agile dead? We see it on LinkedIn and on social media, Agile's dead. No, it's not. Oh, here's my take on it. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe Agile has become retired and got a child, which became a teenager and then grew up. And this new Agile, this reborn, reshaped Agile, is Agile on steroids. It is the thing that we always dreamed of became real. Customers and developers working side by side, day-to-day basis. Most people didn't do that before because it's too hard, because you got all this code to write. But now when the code goes boop, it just gets done, you have time. So all these kind of things, if you look at Agile, the principles, now's the time where you can really truly live those principles in a much easier way. So yeah, that's my bit of AI hype. I hope this was a little bit inspiring, and good luck with helping people do that change. Thank you very much. Don't be those guys.